Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how to choose a sacred vessel. First off, let's talk about what a sacred vessel is. Water itself comes in three different phases: solid, liquid, and gas. In its gas form, it's very, very hard to control. In its ice or solid form, it is very easy to control. In its liquid form, it wants to flow. And even when you've cupped your hands to have water inside, it will find the cracks so it can flow. Water wants to be in flow and it wants to be in motion. However, every once in a while, especially as water priestesses, we need a container into which to hold the water to work with it. Whether that is to charge the water, whether that is to create a particular type of potion or water, or whether that is to use already made waters in a sacred bowl in order to deliver healing or to deliver water rituals. Now, before we actually start talking about the different vessels, I want to talk about the most important vessel, and that is you. Depending on where we are in our hydration, we can be between 60 and 80% water. Of course, as water priestesses, you should be closer to the hydrated form and not the less. However, we're all human and it happens. We all deplete our waters, and that's okay. The important thing is that you fill it. And you've heard the phrase, I'm sure, that's you cannot give from an empty vessel. And so making sure that you are putting in wonderful, beautiful energy and thoughts into this vessel in order to charge your own personal waters with positivity and sacredness, you must continue to have these wonderful thoughts and feelings and even say things about yourself that are in the positive. Negative self-talk will do the opposite, and it will charge your own waters with negativity. And this is where we can start to find problems and start to run into shadows and blocks. And so we don't want to do that. What we want to do is continue to fill this vessel with energy, with light, with love, with positivity, with whatever it is that you as a priestess or water priestess embody. Now, let's talk about all the different types of vessels you can work with. We'll start over here. You've seen me use this bowl already a few times. This bowl here is a bowl that sits on one of my water altars, and it does hold water for a considerable portion of the year. And so when we get into daily practices, I'll explain how I use these in a daily practice a little bit better. But in this particular case, I use it not only as a scrying bowl, but sometimes to represent a sacred well. Especially with the spirit here on the side, it's very easy to connect this image with an actual spirit and to use this as a scrying bowl. Of course, it's been charged with this intent, and I use it for other things such as sprinkling, asperging, or seining. Now, that's a very beautiful bowl. However, this one here is one of my favorites. This was also created by an artist and is also made out of clay. I love the fact that both of those bowls, and this one of course here as well, contain earth energy. And it was the creation of the earth mixed with water that helped to create the actual vessel. And so this one here is a bowl that actually sits on the altar, or similarly, I have other vessels that sit on other altars in the center here. And I know that we haven't talked about what we're going to be using those for, but in the lesson of like our daily practices, we'll be talking about this. So this is also a clay bowl that you've seen me use. And like I said before, I really like to use this bowl because of the spiral, but it also travels well. So let's look at some other ones. We've mentioned cauldrons before, and this is a wonderful little cauldron that can be used as a sacred vessel as well. This one is obviously being used for ashes and for incense. I don't have an example here, but a pitcher is also a really good representation of a sacred vessel. and can also be used. In fact, I have several that I use and I just didn't bring them out today. But you can also use a pitcher, and you may choose to have one on your altar so that you can pour the water into your bowl. Chalices are also important, and I have 3 different chalices here for you to see. This one here has a water goddess on it with two tails, very similar to the one behind me. And this is another clay chalice. It's also made by a magical person, and that makes a difference for me. This is another clay chalice made by another artist. Now, mind you, I've been practicing this for a very, very long time. So we're talking 15 years worth of collection here. So if you're looking at all of my bowls and vessels and going, oh my gosh, I don't have any of those, just stop. Take a breath. You're going to have one, and you're going to work with it for a while, and then you're going to get another and work with that for a while. And then when you start teaching your own classes, you'll have lots to share as well. I wanted to show you a variety of things though, so that you could be inspired. Here is a chalice that was purchased at the store. It happens to have a crescent moon on it, and this would be a wonderful vessel to work with during the new moon or the dark moon. And finally, well, not finally, but finally in this particular section is a teacup. Teacups have been used not only to partake of herbal waters or teas, but in divination as well. Tea leaves are often put in the bottom and steeped, and the practitioner then drinks. At the very end, for the last sip, you swirl, flip, and allow everything to flow out of the cup. You bring it back, and then you read the actual patterns that are in the leaves. That's for a whole nother class. The last type of sacred vessel that I'd like to talk about are shells. And shells are a perfect vessel with a few exceptions. Now, I love shells. Look at this big one. This is a wonderful deep shell that can be used to hold some water. The downside is it has holes right here. And so the water can leak. Now, you can seal these if you'd really like to with wax. Beeswax would be the best choice, and that would make it waterproof. Here is another excellent sacred vessel. This one doesn't have holes, and it is quite pretty. Look at the outside here. And it works really well, especially for rituals, to pour water. And of course, our last one for our shells here would be the scallop. And again, it's very shallow. Now, I feel that shells that are shallow like this are very good for doing a lot of your cleansing work, because you only need a little bit of the water in order to do it. Pop this open real quick. Just a little bit of water holds right there in the shell. And then if you're going to asperge or seine or sprinkle the water on a practitioner or on an item, you can do so like this. You can tap it, tap, 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 or you can actually fling. Now, I like the flinging of water, but not everyone does. So be sure that you have permission to fling water on someone before you do. Okay, so once you have selected your sacred vessel, you're going to want to cleanse it, consecrate it, dedicate it, however it is that you would like. You already have sacred water. You've already seen how to consecrate the altar space, so now you can do that as well with your water and your bowl. So this bowl already has sacred water in it, and so I would just use this water and use my fingers and wash the whole bottle, this whole bowl with the sacred and holy water. Starting out with holy water or sacred water from a sacred site is probably ideal, so that you don't have to create the water in this vessel to then cleanse with this vessel. But you know, it builds. Your practice will build. So if you can't have access to a sacred source, just use what you have. It's about getting the work done, and it's about doing it, and you can always build and enhance your practice later. All right. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. And I hope that you are able to find yourself a sacred vessel that you resonate with to work with in your practice. And if you happen to have more than one sacred vessel to work with in your practice, that's okay too. And I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope it inspires you. Thank you so much. See you next time.